1. We're checking out this absolutely gorgeous piece of American history. A 1969 Chevy C20 that's popped up on Craigslist for $17K. Let me tell you, this is one clean classic truck that's definitely worth your attention. This C20 has only seen 3 owners in its lifetime, and you can tell it's been loved. We're looking at a 3/4-ton workhorse powered by that sweet 327 V8, paired with an automatic transmission, making it perfect for both cruising and hauling. With 80,000 miles on the clock, this truck has plenty of life left in it. The seller's been straight up about everything. The body is super solid with no rust, which is huge for a truck this age, and they've done proper bodywork to keep it clean. The interior is original and in great shape, which is pretty rare for these old trucks. They've put in some serious mechanical work too. Rebuilt 4-barrel carb, new air cleaner, fresh exhaust system, and they've added an electric fuel pump with a switch for better reliability. Now, keeping it real, the paint needs some attention. The red finish isn't perfect, but hey, that's pretty common for a 54-year-old truck. The good news is the bones are solid, and you've got power steering and power brakes, which makes this classic way more drivable than many others from this era. At $17,000 OBO, considering today's classic truck market and the solid condition of this C20, it's actually in the ballpark for a clean example. Plus, they're willing to negotiate. 2. We're looking at a pretty interesting find. A 1977 Ford F-250 Ranger XLT Super Cab Camper Special that's up for grabs at $4,500. Let's dive into this old-school workhorse. Let's keep it real here. This is definitely a project truck. The seller's being honest about its condition, which I appreciate. You're getting a beast of a machine with that legendary 460 V8 under the hood. And the good news is it's actually running. That's a huge plus for a truck of this vintage. Now let's talk about what you're getting into. The interior needs work. It's complete but needs a serious cleaning. The odometer's broken and has rolled over, so the actual mileage is anyone's guess. The tires look okay, but their age is unknown, and we all know how important that is. You'll need to factor in a new battery since the current one's just there for demonstration purposes. On the plus side, it's got a clean title and comes with a nice flatbed setup with a fuel tank. Being a camper special model with the Super Cab configuration makes this a somewhat rare find. These were built for serious hauling and camping duty back in the day. At $4,500, considering today's market for classic trucks, you're looking at a fair price for what it is. A running project with good bones. The 460 engine alone is worth considering, as these are getting harder to find in running condition. 3. We're looking at something really special. A 1969 Ford Camper Special that's absolutely stunning, listed at $29,000. And folks, this isn't your typical old Ford truck. This is a seriously well-preserved piece of automotive history. Let me tell you what makes this one stand out. First off, that paint job is fresh and gorgeous. We're talking a classic two-tone combo of baby blue and white that just screams late 60s perfection. The seller's gone all out with new emblems, mirrors, and chrome work, and it shows. This is the kind of restoration that turns heads at car shows. Under the hood, you've got a restored 390 engine, not the 6-cylinder mentioned in the listing specs. That appears to be a typo since the seller specifically mentions the 390. With only 30,000 miles showing on the odometer, this powertrain is running like a champ, according to the seller. The 8-foot-long bed makes this camper special a true time capsule of when these trucks were built for serious recreational duty. Everything's working as it should be. Well, except for the radio, but honestly, who buys a classic like this for the radio? The clean title is just icing on the cake. At $29,000, we're talking serious collector territory here. But looking at the condition and the level of restoration, it's actually in line with what these beautifully restored camper specials are going for these days. The attention to detail with the chrome work and that immaculate paint job really justifies the price point. 4. We're checking out a pretty sweet find, a 1971 Ford F-100 Custom that's up for grabs at $9,500. Let's dive into what makes this old-school pickup interesting. The star of the show here is that freshly rebuilt 302 V8 engine, and get this, it actually comes with a 1-year warranty. That's huge for a classic truck. The seller's also thrown in a new clutch for that 3-on-the-tree manual transmission, which is becoming increasingly rare to find these days. What really catches my attention is that this is a one-owner truck. In the classic car world, that's like finding a unicorn. It means this F100 hasn't been passed around and potentially modified by multiple owners over the years. The sellers also put on new tires, which is always a nice bonus. Now, the listing is a bit sparse on details about the body condition, interior state, or mileage, but being an all-original one-owner truck does add some serious value. These early 70s F100s are getting harder to find, especially in original condition. At $9,500 OBO, considering you're getting a rebuilt engine with warranty and it's a documented one-owner vehicle, the price seems pretty reasonable in today's classic truck market. Plus, they're open to offers. 5. We're looking at a 1965 GMC 2500 that's popped up for $7,000. And I've got to keep it real with you. This is definitely a project truck, so let's break down what you're getting into. First up, this is a desirable big window cab with a long bed configuration, rolling on those heavy-duty 8-lug wheels. Under the hood, you've got a 350 V8 paired with a turbo 400 transmission. That's a solid powertrain combo when it's all sorted out. Now let's get to the nitty-gritty. This truck isn't street-ready, and the seller's being straight up about that. The main issue is it needs a complete wiring harness, and it hasn't seen street action in quite a while. It's currently on non-op status, though the registration was kept up until recently. The good news? The seller says it's mostly rust-free, which is pretty significant for a 58-year-old truck. That's a huge plus, because rust repair is usually the biggest headache with these old workhorses. This isn't a truck you're driving home. It's more of a bring-a-trailer situation. But for someone looking to restore a classic GMC with good bones, this could be a solid starting point. Just remember, the seller's firm on the price and isn't interested in trades or lowball offers. 6. We're checking out a 1970 GMC step-side that's listed for $14,000, and this one's got some interesting potential. Let's dive into what we're looking at here. First off, this is a mostly original truck with that classic step-side bed, which is becoming harder to find these days. It's rocking a 350 V8 with a 4-speed manual on the floor. And here's where it gets interesting. The seller's throwing in a new Tremec 5-speed transmission. That's a serious upgrade if you're planning to modernize this classic. Now let's keep it real. There's some rust on this truck, but the seller's upfront about it. The odometer shows 123,457 miles, but it's rolled over, so we're looking at unknown actual mileage here. But check out what comes with the deal. New fuel tank, new rims. That Tremec 5-speed, I mentioned various smaller parts. And get this, there's even another engine available, for extra cost. The tires are in good shape with receipts to prove it, and the truck's got a clean title with current registration, though it's registered in South San Francisco while sitting in the Central Valley. 7. We're looking at a pretty interesting piece of vintage 4x4 history. A 1968 GMC K20 Camper Special that's up for grabs at $6,500. Let's dive into this old workhorse. This is a 3/4 ton 4x4 truck, and being a camper special makes it a bit more unique than your standard K20. Under the hood, you've got a V8, though the seller doesn't specify which one, paired with a manual transmission. The good news is it's got power steering and power brakes, which makes wrestling this big truck around a lot easier. Now let's keep it real. The listing is pretty sparse on details. We know the odometer's rolled over, so the actual mileage is anyone's guess. The seller says it runs well and comes with a clean title, which is always good, but there's no mention of the body condition, interior state, or any recent maintenance. At $6,500, considering it's a running and driving 4x4 camper special from '68, the price isn't outrageous in today's classic truck market. These K20s were built tough, and the camper special package makes it more desirable for collectors. But here's my advice. With such a brief description, you'll definitely want to give this truck a thorough inspection in person. Check for the usual suspects: rust in the cab corners, bed and frame, transmission condition, and how well that 4x4 system works. These old K20S are fantastic trucks when they're sorted out, but they can also hide some expensive surprises. 8. We're looking at something really special. A 1947 Chevy 3100 that's listed for $27,000. And folks, this is one clean classic pickup. Let me tell you what makes this one stand out. First off, it's rocking an upgraded 235 CI inline 6 with the desirable Y high-performance setup, paired with a 4-speed manual floor shifter. That's a sweet combo that gives this classic some extra pep while keeping it period correct. The seller's not just talking the talk either. They're putting 200 miles on it every weekend, which tells you this truck is sorted out and ready to roll. Now, here's what's really impressive. Zero rust and no body damage or repairs. For a 76-year-old truck, that's incredible. The bed features dark oak wood, which looks gorgeous on these old trucks, with stainless steel bed runners. That's the kind of detail that shows this truck's been properly cared for. Get this, everything works, including the original radio, and it's still running on its original 6-volt electrical system. That's some serious originality right there. The odometer shows 11,300 miles, though on a truck this age we should probably assume it's rolled over at least once. At $27,000, you're looking at serious collector territory. But considering the condition, the upgrades, and how well preserved this truck is, the price is actually pretty fair in today's market. These 47 Chevys are becoming increasingly valuable, especially ones that are this clean and drivable. 9. We're checking out an absolute gem, a 1955 Chevy 3100 Resto Mod that's listed at $29,500. And let me tell you, this one's got some serious style and substance. First off, this is technically a 55 with a 54 body style, and it's been transformed into one killer Resto Mod while keeping lots of original charm. Under the hood, you've got the original 235 straight 6 with a rebuilt head paired with a 4-speed manual trans. But here's where it gets interesting. They're offering a fuel-injected LS motor ready to drop in for an extra $2K if you want to take this build to the next level. The suspension setup is seriously well thought out. We're talking a 6-inch drop using a 66 Chevelle rear end and a Heights Mustang II front end with disc brakes. That's a proven combo that gives this classic truck modern handling and stopping power. Rolling on 15-inch polished wheels with BFG tires, this thing's got the perfect stance. The history is solid. It's a Washington State truck with only 4 owners, and these current owners have had it for 10 years. Back in 2010, they gave it a thorough refresh, even though it was rust-free to begin with. Check out what was done. Rebuilt, 235 head and carb, new clutch Flowmaster, exhaust, fresh rear bumper, taillights, fenders, and running boards. New bed, custom flat green paint with shop truck style door logos. Inside, they've kept that perfect mix of old and new. Original patina dash and gauges, even maintaining the cool 6-volt system with the floor starter. 10. We're checking out a seriously fresh build. A 1972 GMC C20 that's listed at $17,000. And this one's got some major upgrades under its skin. Let's talk about what makes this truck special. First off, it's basically got a brand new heart. We're talking a fresh GM 350 V8 paired with a rebuilt turbo 400 automatic. They didn't stop there either. It's got an Edelbrock carb and intake setup, new headers, and a dual exhaust system. That's a recipe for some serious power and reliability. The mechanical upgrades are comprehensive. Power steering for easy handling. Front disc brakes for modern stopping power. Rebuilt drive shaft, new fuel tank, relocated under the bed. Fresh tires all around. Less than 1,000 miles on the whole restoration. Now let's keep it real. The seller's being honest about the body. It's not perfect, but it did get a fresh coat of gray paint about a year ago, and they've added a Patriot bed liner, which is great for actual truck use. The interior is described as nice, which is always good to hear on a classic truck. At $17,000, considering all the mechanical work that's gone into this C20, you're looking at a fair price in today's market. Remember, that new GM 350 engine alone is a significant investment, not to mention the transmission rebuild and all the other upgrades. 11. We're looking at something really special. A 1948 Ford F1 pickup that's listed for $21,500, and this is one clean piece of American history. This F1 comes with a pretty cool story. It was a one-owner truck until just 3 years ago when the current seller picked it up. That's incredibly rare for a 75-year-old vehicle. The seller's been maintaining it properly too, taking it out every 3 weeks to keep everything moving smoothly. Under the hood, you've got the 8-cylinder engine, likely the flathead V8, paired with a 3-speed manual transmission. The odometer shows just over 3,000 miles, though on a truck this age, we should probably assume it's rolled over at least once. Now, here's what really catches my attention. The seller claims there's no rust and no leaks. For a truck from 1948, that's pretty remarkable. The white paint looks clean in this condition, though the listing doesn't mention if it's original or has been repainted. At $21,500 OBO, considering the apparent condition and the fact that these first-generation F-Series trucks are becoming seriously collectible, the price isn't out of line with today's market. These F1S were the beginning of Ford's F-Series dynasty, and clean examples are getting harder to find. The seller's being forced to part with it due to an overseas move, which explains why such a clean classic is up for sale. It's located in Alameda in the Bay Area, and they're firm about no lowball offers. 12. We're checking out a 1977 Ford F250 that's up for grabs for $7,000. And let me tell you, this one's a proper old-school workhorse. Let's keep it real here. This is a basic no-frills work truck that's been doing exactly what these trucks were built for. The seller's been using it for local runs and hauling heavy loads over the past 6 years, which is exactly what you want to hear about these old F250s. Under the hood, you've got a V8, though the seller doesn't specify which one, paired with a 4-speed manual that includes that super useful granny gear, perfect for heavy hauling or slow-speed work. The odometer shows 67,117 miles, though on a truck this age, we should probably take that with a grain of salt. Now let's talk about what you're getting into. No AC, pretty common for these work trucks. Clean title. Original brown paint. Comes with some new carpeting that hasn't been installed yet. The seller's being straight up about this being a project for a handy truck lover, so you should probably expect to put some work into it. But these late 70s Fords are known for being tough as nails and relatively simple to work on. At $7,000, considering today's classic truck market, you're looking at a fair price for a running and driving F250, especially if the body's solid. These heavy-duty Fords from this era are getting harder to find in usable condition. 13. We're looking at a 1977 Chevy Bonanza, listed as Bonza, 1/2 ton that's up for grabs for just $2,600, and this might be one of the most affordable square-body Chevys you'll find in today's market. Let's dive into what we've got here. It's running the straight-six engine, which is actually a pretty reliable power plant, paired with a manual transmission. The odometer's showing 125,000 miles, and here's the good part. The seller says it's a gas and go that they drive daily. That's always encouraging to hear. Now I've got to keep it real with you folks. While the seller lists the condition as excellent, the price point and the fact they're willing to take parts in trade suggests this is probably more of a driver-quality truck. These square-body Chevys typically command higher prices, even in rough condition these days. So at $2,600, you should probably expect some issues that need addressing. But here's the thing. At this price point for a running and driving square-body Chevy, especially one that's being used daily, it could be a solid starting point for a project or just a good old work truck. The straight-six engines in these trucks are known for their reliability and are generally pretty simple to work on. The seller's open to offers and partial trades, which gives you some negotiating room. Just remember, when something seems this affordable in today's classic truck market, it's smart to give it a really thorough inspection before pulling the trigger. 14. We're looking at something pretty unique. A 1980 Plymouth Arrow pickup listed at $5,900. And this is one of those cool pieces of automotive history that most people don't even know exists. First off, let's clear up what this actually is. It's technically a Mitsubishi-built truck that was rebadged as a Plymouth for the US market. Think of it as Japan's answer to the small pickup market of the early 80s, and these are getting pretty rare to find nowadays. The setup is pretty sweet. You've got a 4-cylinder engine paired with a 5-speed manual transmission, and get this, it's a 4x4 with a solid front axle. That's a pretty robust setup for a little truck of this era. With 84,000 miles showing, it's got plenty of life left if it's been maintained well. Now let's keep it real about the condition. The seller's upfront about some rust issues. Some rust in the bed floor, driver's side, rust in the bottom of the front fenders. But they say it's otherwise solid, which is actually pretty good for a 43-year-old Japanese mini truck. The good news is it runs and drives good and comes with a clean Oregon title. That's important because these trucks can sometimes have title issues due to their age and import status. At $5,900, considering how rare these are getting and the fact it's a running, driving 4x4 example, the price isn't outrageous. The seller's also open to trades, which gives you some flexibility. 15. We're looking at a 1973 Ford Ranchero that's up for grabs for $7,000. And let me tell you, the seller's being refreshingly honest about this one. This is potentially a GT model, though the seller's not entirely sure. And it's packing a 351 Windsor V8 paired with a 3-speed automatic transmission. That Windsor is a solid engine choice. These motors are known for being reliable, and they respond well to modifications if that's your thing. Now, let's keep it real here. The seller's straight up calling this one fair condition, which is pretty candid for a Craigslist ad. With 130,000 miles on the clock, you can expect some wear and tear. The listing is pretty sparse on details, which means you'll definitely want to give this car-truck hybrid a thorough inspection in person. At $7,000, considering it's a 73 Ranchero with the desirable 351 Windsor, the price isn't outrageous if the body and mechanicals are solid. These Rancheros are getting harder to find, especially GT models, and they've got a growing following among collectors. If you're looking for a unique project that combines muscle car spirit with pickup practicality, this could be worth checking out. Just make sure you go in with your eyes open. Fair condition usually means there's work to be done. 16. We're checking out a sweet 1957 Ford F100 that's listed for $12,500, and this one's got some nice upgrades while keeping that classic character. Let's dive into what makes this truck special. First off, it's a short bed with the desirable big back window configuration. That's a combo that collectors love. Under the hood, you've got the 223 straight six, but this isn't your average stock setup. Check out these upgrades. Clifford intake manifold 2-barrel carb split header, feeding into dual glass pack mufflers. That's a nice combo that'll give this 6-cylinder some extra pep and a sweet sound. The seller's being refreshingly honest about the condition. There's some rust to address. Under the steps, though reportedly not structural, bottom of the passenger door rocker panel. But they're upfront that it's not terrible, which is pretty candid for a 66-year-old truck. The good news keeps coming. All glass is in great shape. Replacement glass for these can be pricey. Nice grille and front bumper. Fresh tires and wheels. Clean interior. Comes with a new wiring harness in the box. That's a valuable bonus. Clean Oregon title. With 46,000 miles showing, this truck's got plenty of life left in it, and it runs and drives good, which is always what you want to hear. At $12,500, considering the desirable body configuration, the thoughtful upgrades, and the overall condition, you're looking at a fair price in today's market. These 57 F100s are serious classics, and finding one that's both drivable and not completely rusted out is getting harder. 17. We're looking at something pretty unique, a 1964 GMC panel van that's listed for $9,800, and this one's got some serious vintage vibes going on. Let's dive into this old-school hauler. It's running the straight 6 engine paired with a 3-on-the-tree manual transmission. That's about as classic as it gets. And get this, it's still got an 8-track player under the dash. How's that for period-correct entertainment? The seller's keeping it real about the condition. Original wood floor, which is pretty cool to still have. Original jack still under the seat. Seat needs some work. Has rust spots. They're not specific about where. New fuel tank. That's a plus. 53,777 miles showing. Here's what really catches my attention. The seller drove this thing to Sun Valley last summer. That tells us this isn't just some static display piece, it's a running, driving piece of history. When they say drive it home, they seem to mean it. At $9,800, considering how rare these panel vans are getting, especially ones that actually run and drive, the price isn't outrageous. These old GMC panels are becoming increasingly popular for both collectors and business owners looking for a unique promotional vehicle. The seller's style is pretty straightforward. What can I say, way cool, pretty much sums it up. They're asking for cash and offering a clean Idaho title. 18. We're checking out a 1985 GMC K 1500 Sierra that's listed for $13,500. And this one's got an interesting story. Let's dive into what we've got here. It's a short bed 4x4 with the High Sierra package, which adds some nice trim upgrades over the base model. Under the hood, you've got the tried and true 350 V8 paired with the 700 R4 automatic transmission. That's a solid powertrain combo that's known for reliability and has great parts availability. Now, here's the backstory. This truck came from the original owner but had been sitting for 10 years before the current seller got their hands on it. They've done some basic revival work. Fresh tune-up, all new fluids, got it running and driving again. The seller's listing it as fair condition, which is pretty honest considering its history. With 130,000 miles on the clock and that 10-year nap, you should expect this to need some attention. However, they do mention it's very solid, which is crucial for these old trucks. At $13,500, we're definitely in the territory where these square-body GMCs are selling these days, especially for a short bed 4x4. These trucks have seen their values climb significantly in recent years. This could be a great platform for either a full restoration, a mild resto mod, or just a classic 4x4 driver with some patina. 19. We're checking out a seriously clean 1970 Chevy C10 that's listed for $22,500, and this one's got some real presence. Let's dive into what makes this truck special. Under the hood, you've got a 350 V8 paired with a 3-speed automatic transmission, and it's sporting a fresh 4-barrel carburetor. The seller's being refreshingly detailed about this truck's condition, rating it an 8 out of 10 inches. That's pretty solid. The good stuff. No visible rust anywhere. Huge for a 53-year-old truck. Previous restoration that's held up? Well, paint looks fresh aside from a few minor blemishes. Brand new wheels and tires. Clean overall appearance. Now, let's keep it real about what needs attention. Some gauges aren't working properly. Might just be a fuse. Front bumper has some chrome peeling on one corner. Brakes might need some minor adjustments. Odometer's rolled over, so true mileage is unknown. The seller's going above and beyond with service. They're even offering airport pickup at PDX if you're flying in to check it out. That's the kind of seller confidence you like to see. At $22,500 OBO, considering the condition and how hot the classic truck market is right now, especially for clean C10s, the price is in the ballpark. These trucks have seen their values climb significantly in recent years. 20. We're looking at a 1984 Dodge D150 that's listed for $8,000, and these old Dodge trucks are starting to get some serious attention in the classic market. Under the hood, you've got the legendary 318 small block V8. These engines are known for being practically bulletproof when maintained. The seller says it runs and shifts well, though it could benefit from a tune-up. That's pretty honest feedback. Let's break down what we're looking at. The good stuff. Body is practically rust-free. Huge for an 80s Dodge. 318 engine runs. Well. Transmission shifts properly. Clean title, though currently in transit. The things that need attention. Clear coat is peeling. Common issue on black paint from this era. Needs a tune-up. Some parts come with the truck that need installing. Heater core. Passenger window motor. Window seal kit. The odometer shows 115,000 miles but is rolled over, so actual mileage is unknown. That's pretty typical for these older trucks. At $8,000 OBO, considering the solid body and running condition, plus the included parts, You're in the ballpark for what these trucks are bringing these days. These D150s are starting to gain more attention as affordable classics, especially ones without major rust issues.